Why should Librans never lend these three things? And the reason will surprise you. You've probably always heard that the greatest virtue of those born under the sign of Libra is their boundless generosity, the unparalleled ability to share, to balance, to make others feel included and comfortable. But what if I told you that this very virtue is, in fact, the invisible trap that is silently draining your vitality every day? You thought you knew the nature of your own balance. You believed your mission was to be the cotton between the crystals, the bridge over turbulent waters. But there's a blind spot in this perfect mechanism of empathy. When a Libra gives too much, they're not just being good and helpful. They are, almost always, trying to buy a peace that never truly becomes theirs. And to maintain this artificial peace, you end up giving away pieces of your own core. By the end of this reflection, the way you perceive your own kindness will radically change. Something that has weighed on your shoulders for years will finally make sense. Today's central question is not mere rhetorical exaggeration. Why should Librans never lend these three things? And the reason will deeply surprise you. It has absolutely nothing to do with selfishness, meanness, or coldness. It has to do with their most basic emotional survival. Because when you lend these three specific things that we're going to explore here, you're not helping the other person grow. You are, tragically, dismantling yourself piece by piece so that the other person doesn't have to deal with their own disarray. Let's look at what happens when no one is watching. You know that moment when you smile, agree, and give up something of yours, but inside you feel a strange, cold emptiness? A slight pang of exhaustion that you quickly hide behind an impeccable diplomatic smile? That's the primal alarm of your intuition going off. The Libra scale wasn't forged to bear the weight of the entire world and the irresponsibilities of others. But for some reason rooted in your soul, you continue to accept burdens that aren't yours. It's an invisible and painful mechanism. You look at someone needing something, and before your conscious mind can even process it, your energy has already moved towards that person to fix the situation. It's almost as if the discomfort of others is physically unbearable for your nervous system. You prefer to empty your own reserve of tranquility rather than witness the disharmony hanging in the air. This is the great illusion of familiarity. You grew up believing that being the point of balance in all relationships was your natural role in the universe, your cosmic duty. But the disturbing truth is that, more often than not, you're acting as an emotional buffer for people who don't even realize the overwhelming impact of their own actions. The first sign that your balance has broken isn't explosive anger. It's gray apathy. It's that inexplicable urge to disappear, to be alone in a dark room in absolute silence. Not because you hate people, quite the opposite, but because the mere idea of having to react to, process, and mediate another person's emotions seems like a Herculean effort, too heavy to bear. You give, you lend, you yield, you agree with a gentle nod. And what comes back to you at the end of the day? Often, just the veiled expectation that you'll do exactly the same thing again the next morning. This is where we need to talk about what you're lending without realizing the cost. We're not talking about money, borrowed clothes, or material objects. We're talking about incredibly more expensive and rare currencies. Librans operate in a very subtle economy, invisible to the naked eye, where the true currency is harmony. And disaster begins when you start financing the peace of others, using the credit limit of your own emotional stability. Deep down, you start to believe that if you just give in a little more, if you just lend a little more of your light and understanding, things will finally calm down and you can rest. But ask yourself this question now. That deep, crystalline calm that you so desperately try to build in the lives of others, when was the last time you felt it dwelling within you? When was the last time you laid your head on the pillow and didn't feel the need to mediate, translate, or soften the harsh reality for someone the next day? There's a deep architecture to how you defend yourself from chaos. Ironically, your primary defense mechanism is to please and give in. And that's exactly why discovering why Librans should never lend these three things hits so hard and hurts so much inside. Because you've been doing it automatically your whole life, and now, suddenly, you're faced with the real cost of this uninterrupted giving. The cosmic bill has arrived, and she's paying the price with sleepless nights, a silent anxiety that tightens her chest, and the bizarre feeling of always being indebted to the universe, even when she's the one who paid the price for everyone else. And it is in this exact moment of exhaustion, when the weight of the scale seems to crush your own identity, that the true inner work begins. You realize you desperately need to reclaim what you borrowed, but you feel an emptiness and don't know where to start again. It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The Divine Wisdom That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Purposeful Life, was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-knowledge and discovered a new way of looking at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't delay the opportunity to discover a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. View this material not just as words on a screen, but as the foundation for a new, unwavering mental posture. It is the exact tool designed to develop your ability to find and sustain your true brilliance, teaching the essential art of not getting lost in the pursuit of harmony and recognition that Libra spends its entire life trying to orchestrate. You are here now, absorbing each of these words, probably feeling a pang, an immediate recognition, because you know deep down that you have spent the last few months, perhaps the last few years, absorbing pain and conflict that never belonged to you. The acute discomfort of recognizing yourself in this web of excessive giving is not a punishment. It is the vital sign that you are mature enough to break the gears. Don't delay your own rescue. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now, download your copy. Take the opportunity to share your truth in the comments. When was the last time you gave up something precious to you just to avoid upsetting someone else? Now that you understand the mechanics of your burnout, we need to reveal the first of three things you've been indiscriminately giving away. The first thing a Libra should never lend is their healing listening. We're not talking about simply listening to a friend vent on a bad day. A Libra's listening is different. It's magnetic. It's profound. When you listen to someone, you don't just offer your ears. You offer your entire presence. You create a safe cocoon where the other person can unload all the toxicity, all the pain, all the shadows they carry. And the reason you should never lend this boundless listening will surprise you. Because people don't come to you seeking advice. They come seeking thermal relief. They are boiling with emotional chaos, and they use your peaceful nature as a bucket of ice. You listen to the endless drama of a family member, the cyclical complaint of a colleague, the victimhood of someone who doesn't want to change. You analyze perspectives, validate the other person's feelings, and try to show both sides of the coin with that classic diplomacy. At the end of the conversation, the person takes a deep breath. They say they feel much lighter. They smile and go on to live their life. But what about you? You're left standing there, feeling as if a truck has run over your body. You didn't just listen. You absorbed the frequency of that problem. The person left cleansed, leaving all their emotional baggage perfectly organized within your energy field. You start having insomnia because of problems that aren't yours. And the cruelest part, when you're the one who needs to talk, when your scales are heavy and you seek someone to listen, you suddenly discover that the people around you are mysteriously busy. Their silence is deafening. You realize you were an excellent listener, but you didn't build relationships. You only built dumping grounds. The shock of this realization is what generates that silent Libran sadness. It's frightening to realize how this dynamic takes hold without you even noticing, isn't it? That empathetic silence you offer subtly becomes your own abyss. And to close that door without feeling like the worst person in the world, you need more than good intentions. The divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign towards a purposeful life. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties, acting as a definitive energetic shield for your Libra aura. It shows you in practice how to shield your empathy, teaching you the exact limit between being a good friend and being an emotional garbage dump for those who refuse to evolve. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. This invisible accumulation of tension leads us to the next stage of your pain. There is a hidden resentment in the heart of every Libra, a shadow that contrasts violently with the image of the ever-smiling diplomat. It is the accumulated frustration of constantly being the one who understands all sides, while no one seems to make the slightest effort to understand yours. The scales you carry are not just a symbol of justice. They are a sensitive instrument that weighs every ounce of effort invested in a relationship. When you realize you are eternally giving away gold coins while receiving pennies in change in attention and care, something inside you freezes. And it is because of this feeling of injustice that we arrive at the second absolute rule. The second thing Librans should never lend is their mediating voice, their power to intervene and pacify conflicts that aren't their own. The scenario is classic. Two people you know go to war. The tension in the air cuts like a knife. What does your Libran instinct scream at you to do? Get in the middle. You can't stand the heavy atmosphere. You decide you'll be the bridge, the translator, the ambassador of peace. You lend your voice to try to make one side understand the other. You spend hours crafting the perfect arguments, softening harsh words, stitching together invisible agreements so that those two people stop fighting. And the reason you should never do this is what most shocks the nature of Libra. Because by lending your diplomacy to resolve someone else's conflict, you invariably become the target of both sides. Mediation doesn't bring lasting peace. It brings a transfer of blame. When things go wrong, or when the temporary truce you stitched together crumbles, the blame never falls on the one who started the war. Suddenly the blame falls on your lap. You didn't explain properly. You took the other side. You meddled where you weren't wanted. That harmony you fought to build until your last drop of sweat turns against you like a whip. You lost sleep crafting speeches to help people who, deep down, perhaps even liked the chaos they lived in. And you, who only wanted everyone to be okay, end up isolated, judged, and profoundly misunderstood. Lending your mediation skills to people who don't want to resolve conflicts but only win arguments is like trying to put out a fire by throwing your own skin into the flames. You burn, and they keep screaming. And what's left of you in the end? Immense wear and tear on the vocal cords of your soul. A fatigue that makes you doubt whether it's really worth loving people. Have you ever felt the stinging pain of becoming the villain in the story you were trying to fix? When you lend your voice and get lost in the crossfire, regaining your own center requires a precise map. The divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign towards a purposeful life. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties, functioning perfectly as that internal compass. It's the definitive manual that teaches you to return responsibility to others, guiding you on how to strategically retreat from battles that don't belong to you, preserving your integrity and peace of mind. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. The exhaustion of trying to be the world's bridge takes its highest toll when people become so accustomed to walking all over you that they forget the bridge is made of feelings, bones, and extreme aesthetic sensitivity. You begin to believe that your usefulness in the world is tied to your ability to keep the social gears lubricated. The hidden fear of Librans isn't losing the argument, it's losing the connection. It's the visceral panic of being rejected, of causing an irreparable rupture, of not being loved. And behind all this Herculean effort of politeness and concession lies the agonizing need to be validated, to hear a simple, "I don't know what I would do without you." But the tragedy is that the more you give up your structure to shelter the other, the less value people give to it. And this inevitably leads us to the last and most dangerous item on our list. The third thing Librans should never under any pretext lend is the constant benefit of the doubt, the key to their inner sanctuary. Their sanctuary is their psychic space, the place of quietude where their identity rests. Librans have a natural, almost poetic tendency to look for the good side, the glimmer of light, the reasonable justification in anyone's behavior, no matter how bad they are. If someone hurts you, your Venus-ruled mind quickly creates a mitigating narrative. "Ah, he had a difficult childhood. She's under a lot of pressure at work. They didn't mean any harm." You lend your vision of justice and beauty to embellish the toxic behavior of the person who is destroying you. You open the door to your sanctuary and say, "Come in, I understand your thorns." And the reason why this is the most fatal mistake a Libran can make will surprise you, because it destroys the very illusion that love heals everything, because there are people who are not confused, hurt, or misunderstood. They are simply abusive. And when you endlessly give them the benefit of the doubt, you teach these people that they can do absolutely anything to you, and that in the end, you yourself will do the work of forgiving them. You become the defense attorney for your own abuser, and every time you justify the unjustifiable to maintain apparent peace, a wall of your sanctuary crumbles. People settle into your life, disrespecting your subtle boundaries, breaking the precious vessels of your self-esteem, and you just silently sweep up the shards, trying to focus on the remaining flower arrangement. When you give the benefit of the doubt to someone who has repeatedly proven who they are, you are in fact doubting your own perception of reality. You betray yourself in the name of harmony. You can't keep illuminating the darkness of others with your own light. Protecting the purity of your inner sanctuary is not an act of selfishness. It's an urgent need for sacred preservation. The divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign towards a purposeful life. More than just a simple reading, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. It presents itself as the marble pillar that supports the gates of your temple. It gives you the practical wisdom to close the door firmly, loving the people outside your non-negotiable peace, and healing once and for all this need to justify those who hurt you. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. The ultimate and absolute revelation lies not in ceasing to love your neighbor, but in ceasing to use yourself as a bargaining chip. Why should Librans never lend these three things? And the reason will surprise you, because the balance you so desperately seek will never ever be found outside of yourself. True harmony, the pinnacle of Libra's vibration, happens in the magical and terrifying instant when you discover the monumental power that exists in the word no. A no said with the elegance of Venus, without shouting, without drama, only with the serene weight of someone who has finally discovered their own worth and no longer accepts crumbs of consideration. Lending your listening, your mediation, and your compassionate innocence has turned you into a plundered sanctuary. But the beauty of your nature is that structures can be rebuilt with the strength of a renewed thought. When you stop trying to balance everyone's life around you, you will realize, perhaps for the first time, that the scale has finally stabilized in the center. And there, in the center, where there is no more outside noise, no borrowed conflicts, no flimsy excuses to shelter those who hurt you, you will find true peace. Not the manufactured, anxious and hollow peace that you bought with your sacrifice, but the profound peace of finally being entirely on your own side.